Greetings. For the time being, my name is Retribution X, and this will be my my first more serious video on YouTube. The prior videos have been mandatory videos related to my time at in high school. But this video is going to be more serious, and today's topic is humanity's role in the universe. And it's hard to know from the title what I exactly mean by it. But I wrote something about 8 months ago that may help understand that. And from that is what I will talk about and elaborate on afterwards. So, quote, "Humanity is an experiment instigated by evolution. We evolved our superior brains in order to survive better. Therefore, we are now masters of our own planet. It is now our calling and mission, by any means necessary, to expand our territory into space and to increase our knowledge. Any reactionary force and any fear of this progress is wrong. It is nature's call that humanity attempts to survive, and that calling has to be followed. Let us colonize the universe together." Unquote. Now, I want to explain a little bit about how I view human history as a whole. Very shortened. So, at least 100,000 years ago, the modern human came to be, and at the beginning we learned to use wood as tools and to manipulate wood into spears and so on. And a bit later we learned to also use stone as tools and manipulate stone. And finally, and later, we also learned to use metal to our advantage. It began with the easiest metals to get, and then later we got more complicated metals to extract, like iron, for example, and then we made steel, and and as we got more advanced and we got more inventions, our society also kept getting more advanced. And after we got iron, we learned to manipulate it and change it even better and even more to our advantage. And it ended about the early industrial revolution, where we created steam engines, and it is actually it is inventions that that are they're not they became so complicated that it was not the most, the sensible thing to do necessarily. I mean, from metal, you don't, just by looking at metal, you don't necessarily get a steam engine. It requires much thought to come up with that idea. And after that, and I also think cars, they're one of the last parts of, they're also a part of this revolution, the industrial. And finally we got computers. The digital world came, and so we are here. Now I think that the next step would be to travel into the universe and try to use our technologies, and as we got the computers, it is now possible to do so. It is the last thing we needed to go to space. I think it would be, it's just the continuation that is easiest to imagine to me. And also an argument to colonize space is that Earth is very vulnerable to external forces. We don't know whether something very bad happens tomorrow, i.e. a supernova or the like, or something of the liking. And another element to this is the reactionary force, the people who don't want this. And just the most complicated assignment to travel in space. It's very complicated. Now at some point I have a little anecdote. At some point I was in a company of 3 other people, and one of them was getting or person 1 was getting the phone number of person 2, and person 2 is an elderly person. Person 2 then said that it was easier in the old times because the phones, they've been so immensely complicated. If you compare it to the old phones from the, maybe we can say 1980 and earlier. And person 3 agreed that the technology has become much more complicated. But just try to think about how much the telephones have evolved. Now this is one of the ways in which you can be reactionary. It's just that it's both an argument about that the good old times were better, and I couldn't disagree more. I think we ought to look forward instead. Now, one of the other reactionary forces, or the other reactionary force I shall include here, it's religion in general. Religion. I don't know of any religion that promotes progress more than the absence of a religion would do. I can't name one. Across the board, most religions are a hindrance to progress, I think. And I don't want to argue too much about that, because then it would be a very long video, but that's just my view. And I don't want to give an example of a religion that's worse. But yeah, at least Christianity after the Renaissance, it was easier to make scientific progress, but you could still say that we in the West have made scientific progress in spite of religion, not that religion has somehow helped making scientific progress. Yeah, but we also need to be realistic here, because as I mentioned earlier, it is a very tough assignment, perhaps the toughest, to travel into the universe and to colonize planets. And one of the terms I want to elaborate on, or just tell about it. It's the Goldilocks zone. It's a term that it sounds funny. It's a term that astronomers use when they search for a suitable planet. Some of you might have heard of it. and it derives from the I mean, the term comes from the notion or the thought that in order to have have a planet that sustains life, it has to be dependent on the sun. It has to be somewhere in between where it's too cold, on the outskirts of the solar system, and not too warm, i.e. too close to the sun in the solar system. And it's a method, as far as I know, that's used to decide which planets in a given solar system to analyze. But you could also expand the term and just use it to explain that that it's very hard to find a suitable planet. Very, very hard. I don't know just how many they have found, but I've only heard of some, I think 3 planets, and then some of them they found of some of the other planets I've heard of. They found out later that they were not suitable. And you could also take in factors as radiation and so many things. Radiation, and also just the how the atmosphere is composed. If there's too little oxygen, then it wouldn't be a possibility. If there's too much CO2, then it wouldn't be a possibility, and so on. So that's also just a complication. But in regards to that, I have thought that maybe the easiest thing would be to change the climate of a planet by transferring or transporting, for example, water to another planet. But it's very expensive. And of course you could also invent things that would make it possible, although we normally wouldn't be able to live there. That is to say, you could make an airproof base on Mars, for example, and also Mars is a planet that we look to for the time being. But that is one of the complications, and also just to travel that far. When you hear about they found a new planet that might be able to sustain life, and of course human life, to be more exact, and it's 10 light years away, then it wouldn't be so easy to get there. but there's also much progress in the field of making space shuttles or spaceships. There are many new ideas being thought out by physicists and engineers at this very moment. New ideas. You can maybe find some videos about it if you want to. But the most important, or you could say the the preliminary way to view this, humans in space and humanity's role in the universe. It could be mine, and I think we need to show the universe what we can do. We need to give us a reason to be proud instead of just being the most proud species that ever existed. As we are, I believe we are. And in a way, one of the very important things that I believe is that in a way, when we are stuck on this mud bowl, and we have been there for a very long time. We haven't existed a long time, but yeah. But our species has still been here a very long time, and the technological progress has been slow, I think, until the 18th century. But I think we need to travel to the universe, because I forgot what I wanted to say, but I remembered what I wanted to say. I wanted to say that in a way, as species, when we travel to space, then we would go from an animal, a simple animal, to no longer being an animal. We are, yeah, of course we would still be biological beings, but what I mean is that all animals across the board are limited to being on just one planet. It goes for all animals on Earth. And if we could overcome our natural stupidity, then we would transcend to no longer be an animal. It's, yeah, that's an idea that I have thought much about. But I think this video has been long enough, and I hope maybe you can use some of the ideas. And if you want to, then you can leave a comment, and from the other YouTubers what else you can do, but I won't ask you to do it. So Leave a comment if you have some thoughts on this topic.